All key European countries at the beginning of the 20th century, Russia, Germany, Austria-Hungary, France, and Britain, began a bloody and destructive war like no other in history, which was called the Great War. A military conflict involving 38 countries took place between two coalitions in Europe, the fighting of which spread throughout the world. A war was only a matter of time, as all countries were ready and understood all the risks. On the side of the Central Powers, the youngest was the German Empire and the oldest were the Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian empires. Their counterweight was the Entente, which consists of Russia, France, and Britain. Because of their location, the Central Powers were forced to fight on two fronts, Eastern and Western, with the last one being the bloodiest, where according to military estimates more than 3 million died. Numerous novels were written based on the events on the front, such as All Quiet on the Western Front by Erich Maria and Death of a Hero by Richard Altingdon. This is a war where the past and the future collided, where many countries were forced to create new technology to achieve their military goals. Military actions began on August 2nd, 1914. Germany longed for war and the capture of all of Europe. Just 40 years prior, she was able to defeat the French and earn the status of a world power, along with other mighty empires. Her gaze immediately fell on the weak French, who lost to them in the Franco-Prussian War of 1870. The German leadership wanted a quick and victorious plan, but the German-French border was heavily fortified after the last war. Thus, a great idea has matured in the General Staff of the German Empire.
Kaiser Wilhelm, we can't attack the French head-on.
Then what do you suggest, Helmut Johannes?
I propose to use the Alfred von Schlieffen plan to defeat the French pigs.
Wait, are you sure? What's wrong with Karl von Bülow? This plan was developed almost 10 years ago and has a lot of shortcomings. Maybe we should develop a better plan?
This reliable decision was used in a plan to bypass the fortified borders of France through the Benelux. But since none of Benelux countries gave military access, a usual German move was used: diplomacy. After declaring war on Russia, Germany invaded Luxembourg the same day. After occupying Luxembourg, Belgium was given an ultimatum to allow the German armies to pass through to the border with France. But believing too much in itself, Belgium refused Germany's ultimatum. After that, nothing stood between the German troops and France. Looking at all this, British politicians choked on their tea in surprise. But since Britain guaranteed the independence of Belgium, it decided to go to war against the German Empire. In the archives of Britain, there is even a recording of the speech of the King of Britain speaking why they should go to war to fight the Germans.
At any rate, that is what we are going to try to do. That is the result of His Majesty's government.
By this time, the German troops had already come close to the French border. In the first days of the war, more than 100,000 troops died on both sides. The battles were very brutal. The Entente countries could not hold back the German offensive, and the Germans almost tasted the smell of croissants from Paris. But having gathered all of their forces into a fist, the French were able to hold back and counterattack on the Marne River, the very first and important battle, where each side had about millions of soldiers. Due to the length of the troops of the front, this battle went pretty badly for Germany, which is why Entente troops were able to make a counteroffensive and repel the enemy from Paris. Here it is, the best moment to beat back the Germans and liberate Belgium from their occupation. But instead of attacking, the French British decided to take in and create fortifications. After the victory on the Marne, the Entente gained an advantage, but they decided not to use it. In doing so, they made a fatal mistake. Many people know the names of the First World War, such as the Great War and the Imperialist War, but these are all big names because we are moving towards the moment when the front completely froze, namely 1915. In 1915, the front lines of the Great War completely froze, but there were battles on the Eastern Front with the Russian Empire, also with major losses. In the West, everything was quiet, nothing of note to happen. Many people began getting sick of sitting in the trenches and tried to entertain themselves as much as they could. Such morale led to the Christmas truce event, where soldiers from both sides emerged from the trenches and exchanged gifts. However, wasn't this well everywhere. To change the situation and drive the enemy out of the fortifications, there were moments when the most terrible technologies were used, like huge loudspeakers that tried to stun the enemy. Because of this, many soldiers tried to kill themselves or go on the attack. Jokes aside, there were very dangerous technologies that were used at the front, namely chemical weapons. They were really effective and deadly. On April 22nd, the Second Battle of Ypres took place, during which the German army attacked the Ypres salient and occupied most of it. On the first day of the operation, the Germans used chemical warfare on a large scale for the first time. As a result of the gas attack, about 1,000 people died within a few minutes. Such civilian technologies were also reused, which is why previously harmless machines such as an airplane or an airship turned into a deadly weapon that could kill many people. 1915 ended without any large-scale battles, a year of respite before oncoming bloodbaths, one of which is going to be a major attempt by the Entente to attack the German defense lines. A battle took place on the French part of the Western Front from July 1st to November 18th, 1916, on both banks of the Somme. The Battle of the Somme is one of the largest battles of World War I, with over 1 million killed and wounded, making it one of the bloodiest battles in human history. From the French side, troops were commanded by Ferdinand Foch, the same moustache with a steep cap. On the British side was Douglas Haig, and from Germany, Ruprecht of Bavaria. The Entente command wanted to make a quick breakthrough through the front line towards Germany. The battle was able to show the importance of an air force. For the first time in the world, on the Somme, some newest technologies were used, which later gave rise to many similar but better vehicles, one of which was the personal development of William Churton and Walter Gordon. To your attention, Mark I. Despite some technical weaknesses and tactical errors in their use, the result was impressive and showed a potential for this type of weapon. The German troops were pushed through on a 35 kilometers long front line. As such, Germany had to create a new line of defense, and the military initiative passed from the Central Powers to the Entente. German losses on the Somme near Verdun greatly affected the morale and the combat effectiveness of the German army. This resulted in many consequences for the German government. Many citizens expressed their disaffection on the streets. Down with the Kaiser, no to war. In August 1916, Paul von Hindenburg replaced Erich von Falkenhayn as chief of the German General Staff. The new military leadership was quick to realize that the offensive capabilities of the German army were exhausted in the battles of Verdun and the Somme. The staff decided to go on a defensive. During the winter of the Battle of the Somme, the Germans set up defensive positions behind the front line from Arras to Soissons, called the Hindenburg Line. It made it possible to reduce the length of the front, freeing up troops for other operations. Due to unsuccessful operations on the front line, the German leadership started to become desperate. The war at the time has claimed the lives of more than 5 million people, and as such, the next 2 years will be turning moments of world history. If you want to join the filming or just chat, join my Discord server. Thanks for watching and goodbye.